Welcome back, Sam Roberts Show. And with us here in studio, Paul Walter Hauser. Welcome, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for seeing me this soon after our last hangout. It feels good, man. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, usually you have to come through here and then you end up in the basement some way or another. You went in reverse.
Yeah,
you went basement first.
It's that scene in Zodiac where Jake Gyllenhaal goes in Charlie Fleischer's basement and thinks he's going to be killed. That's
that's
your
vibe.
basement, and it's even more alluring because it's filled with things I love, like sneakers and toys,
sneakers and wrestling
posters.
toys. Yeah. And you embraced my dog too.
Yeah. Oh God, that dog was a real lover, not a fighter.
Not a fighter at all. She's got a big bark, but
she was awesome.
Yeah. But man, I'm happy for you as always. I feel like every time I turn around, you've got something else happening right now. You're in a lot. Like, not only are you in a lot, but there's a lot that keeps kind of coming out. Did you have a period of time where you were working a ton and now it's all kind of...
That's kind of how it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
I remember I'm a big Michael Shannon fan.
Yeah.
New Yorker here. And he had a year where like 6 to 8 movies were coming out or something crazy.
Yeah.
And it was like big studio fare and then little indies that, you might have saw on like a flight somewhere.
Totally.
Like one of those years. So I think this is that year for me where, Luckiest Man in America, and then Fantastic Four, and then Naked Gun, and then Americana, and then Deliver Me From Nowhere, a.k.a. the Bruce Springsteen thing.
Yeah.
And I do a voiceover role in this faith-based animated show, The Chosen Adventures.
Yeah.
And then I also did a voiceover for King of the Hill for an episode of the reboot, and I have no clue when that comes out, but I think it's this year.
But you did it.
Yeah, I got to do it. I got to do something with Mike Judge, which is like a big deal for me.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Mike Judge is still doing it and everything. He's a genius.
He really is. I even as lesser known films like Extract or something with Jason Bateman, there's so many funny parts, and like he gets the coolest people to act in his movies.
Yeah. Were you a movie geek like forever, and that's how you found acting? Or once you got into acting, was it more like, I'm just going to surround myself with this?
It's funny. It was kind of like my first love was like professional wrestling. Then it was actually music, just because the radio was, especially like traditional radio, is such a big deal growing up. Every day in the car you listen to the radio. So it was like wrestling, then music, and then movies and acting were the thing that I was like, oh, I think I can actually do that. I think I want to try that.
That's of all the passions. Now you're kind of dabbling in all of them.
Now I'm doing all of them because screw you guys. Yeah. No, I'm just I'm trying to please my 13-year-old self.
That's what I love about it, because you're clearly doing that. But also, I was having a discussion with somebody about you earlier today, where it's like, what do you have to find the right people to keep around you? Like, do you have a manager that's like, bro, you might get nominated for an Oscar or something. You can't be wrestling in Vegas and MLW. You don't need the Progress Championship. We're trying to get acting awards.
We're
and
trying
you're like,
to make a different kind of progress.
Right. And you're like, I think I'm going to go try to get the wrestling belt.
You got to have fun, man. And you got to find the people that split the difference. Because a person who lacks advisors is often not very wise. So it's good to have that team, but also have people that give you a leash, I suppose. Right? They can yank it when it's truly necessary, or they can be like, let them. We don't have to put a shock collar on them, at least. Yeah. I'm not to that point yet. But yeah, no, I got MLW this Saturday in Long Beach, California. That's going to be a blast. I got my first match with Progress out of the UK in Vegas on April the the 17th?
Sure.
Which is, WrestleMania week.
Yeah.
Just being WrestleMania adjacent feels cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is kind of even cooler that it's like, oh, there's a big celebrity doing WrestleMania matches. No. WrestleMania adjacent matches, like on the indie shows. There's
750 people drunk and sweaty in Vegas, yeah.
That's the way wrestling should be, though.
Yeah, I mean, my best memories of live wrestling are I went to 2 PWG shows in Reseda, California, and I've never had more fun than that.
They were the best.
That was the best.
They were the best. I'm happy that you're in to promote The Luckiest Man in America, because I've been obsessed with the story of this dude.
Did you know this story?
100%.
I didn't even know this story. I just knew I was like a fan of the show in syndication. I used to watch Press Your Luck.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Like growing up, like, yeah, when it would come on, I think it was on like USA in the afternoons or something like that. I always loved Press Your Luck. And then it was much later when I found out, because I think I saw one of the documentaries.
Well, folks on the street were coming up to me saying, like, I watched that documentary. I guess there's one or two of them. And people were it's got a little following. It's got a little, like, because it's true crime vibe to it where people are really interested. It's cool. Because
it's such an amazing story. I mean, it's the story of the guy who figured out the Press Your Luck patterns just by recording the shows and watching them on VHS over and over again. But he went in and took them for like $100,000 in 1984 money.
I think adjusted for inflation, it's almost like $350K or something.
Which they were trying to give out like $6,000 or $7,000. Like they weren't trying to drop.
No.
This wasn't Regis money. This was like Wheel of Fortune money.
Yeah, and they also were not like, back then there were so few viewing options that every show was fairly successful. If you were on TV, you're getting millions of viewers.
Sure.
But they still weren't like, it wasn't like Dallas or something. It wasn't like the biggest show on television. So to lose that kind of money was a bit of a stark realization for everybody and led to that kind of, everybody running around like chickens with their heads cut off trying to figure out, A, how did he do it?
Yeah.
B, what is our response to it? And C, what do we have to do now that this is a reality that people might be figuring out the pattern? What must we do? And it's like, well, you need more than 5. That's a weak algorithm. That's not a very good algorithm. Yeah,
that's a really funny scene in the movie when they realize 5? You did it. 5 is the number of patterns.
Oh, were you able to watch it?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good, man.
Absolutely, yeah.
It. That's cool, you guys. I appreciate that. That it's always more fun when the person you're talking to is done the homework and seen the
for
thing.
Sure.
Some people are just like, so what does it feel like to be the luckiest man in America? And I'm like, clearly you didn't do any research. Like,
So he got lucky and won the game show? Is that it?
Are you a game show fan? Do you like having empty conversations?
No, but I think that it's so great because, and I think everybody kind of roots for this dude because he's a regular human being. But also, he didn't, in my mind, he didn't cheat. He figured out that the network, this big company that is bigger than any of us humans, had a flaw. And he was like, wait, I can outsmart the machine.
Yeah, I think, and I think in a different life, that guy, the real guy, Michael Larson, would have been one of those reformed con men, like Frank Abagnale Jr. that DiCaprio played in Catch Me If You Can, where it's like, oh, the FBI can now recruit you, or you can do some sort of good with this type of mischievous, tactic or knowledge. And I think his story did not go that way. We capture the fun part. This was like one of the more honest days of work he ever had in his life versus what he did in the future. But I do think there's something fun about like the underdog and people who can game the system in a way that isn't technically illegal. I mean, if you told me, hey, this outlet store that sells, say sportswear, and I know Paul loves vintage basketball jerseys. They have a coupon code, but they're also doing a Thanksgiving week Black Friday sale. And they haven't canceled one or the other out, so you can use both.
Yeah.
So it's not just 40% off, it's actually 70% off.
Right.
I would be like, sick, I'm using that. The company, if that's hurting them, they'll change it.
Yeah, they made the mistake.
They made the mistake. I'm going to get this Dennis Rodman Pistons jersey for $38.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And by the way, like every company, you hear every story of every company that's like, no, we can just fire a bunch of people because we have this thing that allows us to. It's not like they're looking out for people.
They don't look out for anybody anymore. That's what a mom and pop place used to be.
Right.
A mom and pop place. The reason to me the connotation was always not that it's a small business, but that it's run by like a family and they know their neighbors and they have a relationship with people. Nowadays, the only relationship is luring somebody in by way of, what does the consumer want? Now I'm going to get them, but once I have them trapped, I'm going to put out an iPhone that has 2 slightly new features and call it the iPhone 19 57 or whatever.
Yeah, and you really need to have that one.
Oh, did we mention we changed the adapter for the charger? You're going to need that too.
Yeah, because the old battery doesn't even work, so you're going to need the new one with the new charger. And we don't include chargers anymore.
It's like, could you just punch me in the throat? It would hurt less than you explaining that to me. I think the voice of Apple iPhone sales is probably close to Gary Cole as Lumbergh in Office Space. Yeah, I'm going to need you to buy another charger. That'd be great. Thanks a bunch, Milton.
Isn't that, and that goes back to the genius of Mike Judge, that he puts this movie out in, what was it, 96, 97, something like that?
I think it was 99.
Okay, 99. Yeah. And today, if you watch that, you're like, yeah, that's what it's like. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
same with Idiocracy, like all these, like it's amazing.
Some things are evergreen. I think even the movie, one of my favorite comedies, not just Christmas movies, but comedies period, is A Christmas Story.
Yes.
And I think that's one of those weirdly evergreen movies where it's like, yeah, the mom and dad are struggling and they're quirky and you're, hyper focused and obsessed on a toy and you're weaseling your way into getting it. Like that will always be a thing. So I think Office Space somehow hit that. Interesting note of evergreen material.
You do. I noticed it in this movie. You do this brilliant thing when you're playing all these characters, and you do different versions of it. But I think you did it in Blackbird. You've done it a bunch. You do this thing where you'll be in a room. You as a character, you're in a room talking to this group, and you're clearly this off-kilter kind of weird, not quite social person. But you do this thing where you laugh, and you laugh in a way at your own joke, where it's as if everybody in the room is in on this joke, and nobody in the room is in on the joke. And that little laugh that I picked up on, I said, that's it. Like, it says so much about who this person is and how disconnected.
You're very observant then, because I don't know that I've fully grasped that I do that.
You do.
It may be, it is likely unconscious, but I suppose the through line for the characters that all do that is probably the idea of not being self-aware. Right?
Yes, 100%.
And I think that's part of what tickles me so much when I watch I Think You Should Leave or any Tim Robinson humor, is a lot of his characters are lacking in self-awareness, and they're kind of like, this is my offering to the atmosphere in the room. This is my conversation.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's kind of like it's something someone picks out of the bite of food rather than saying, oh, there's garlic in this. It's like, why the hell is there cumin? You know? That's kind of the reality of his, his disposition in those places. So I thankfully, I get to play fun characters that kind of are those people.
Okay, where do you fit in?
I do say thankfully because I think I'd be bored with doing just regular stuff. Like, I'm trying to think of other actors who do movies that I would be like, I don't want to do that. I guess it's not easy to be Glenn Powell in the sense that you are going to get a lot of offers where it's like, can you be super attractive and move this story forward, and we'll believe that you can do this thing? Like I like the Michael Shannons, the Sam Rockwells, the Paul Giamattis, like
William H. Macy's.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. 20 years from now, I'm gonna want to do more of a Paul Giamatti and Holdovers role than I would want to do I can't play Michael Clayton.
Right.
I can play the guy in Michael Clayton who's carrying the bread basket and is like losing his mind, but I can't play Michael Clayton.
You also do this thing on that same note, which I noticed in this movie too, and I was like, because I was watching you, because you do these roles so brilliantly. I'm like such a fan of when you do them.
Thank you. Same to you.
And thank you, man. And like I'm watching you, like you have this way of somebody asks your character a question. And it's a perfectly reasonable question. But you don't want that question to be asked to you. You answer it, but you answer it in this like almost aggressive, annoyed cadence that you did not have before that question was asked. And it's almost like I'm giving you the answer and I'm very resentful that you asked me this question.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of these things are also things I see other people do. You know?
Yeah, totally.
It's very much. I think my biggest acting trick or like tactic, if there was one, would be people watching, because I'm not going to learn in an acting class what you learn by having a flight delayed and sitting with a dead battery on your phone or the charger's not working, and you just sit and look at people for 40 minutes.
Right.
I mean, that is more of an acting class than anything you'd pay money for. Because you're having to draw conclusions based on the contextual clues that are within a person's disposition, surroundings, and their affections and their idiosyncrasies, and why do they eat the sandwich with the wrapper over the sandwich as they're eating it? They don't want to get their hands dirty. Why do they just picking out all that stuff is really fun. It's the funnest, easiest homework ever, and it ends up in all your roles. And when you hear a guy like Michael Keaton or Nicolas Cage talk about process, they're often just referencing a guy they grew up with at a hardware store, or Nick Cage is literally like, yeah, I saw this German expressionist painting, and the man, he has a goblet, but you can see, it's upside down, and yet there's no liquid pouring from it, and you got to think, well, why hold on to an empty chalice? So that was what I did in the film. Is I was really, the past is haunting him. He's hanging on to this empty chalice. So it's like we have our own reasons why we do these things.
Yeah.
And if you can find your own reasons and have it based in some piece of reality, like, dope. The observant viewer, like you, is going to watch it and pick up on that.
Yeah, and I also think that the art is being able to people watch like that non-judgmentally. Like, you're not going, that's the wrong way to do it. I hate the way that guy does this. It's like you're just kind of.
I've had life humble me enough to know that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I mean,
that's fair.
There are certain things I know, and there are many things I don't know. There's a really great quote from this guy Karl Popper. I think he says, knowledge, of course, must be finite. So if our knowledge is finite, our ignorance must, be ignorant, must be infinite versus the finite.
Right.
So it's like
knowledge is finite, so ignorance is infinite.
Yeah. So it's this idea that so many people talk about.
Oh, there you go. There's your quote.
Thank you. Our knowledge can only be finite, while our ignorance must necessarily be infinite. Brilliant quote, I thought.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of how, not to take a big turn, but like certain people feel that they've cornered the market and have empirical truth on how to adapt the 27 books of scripture or whatever in the Bible. And it's like, however many books are, it's like, that's a big task. Mm-hmm. And like, you're a person with a very simple degree from a small town who's never seen the rest of the world or done any digging on anything.
Right.
So it's very weird when people are like, I know how to do this. And you're like, well, you know how to make fire, but you haven't met the guy who invented the lighter.
Right.
Like that's yeah, I think that's interesting.
Where do you fit into the I think you should leave universe? Because I got very excited when I saw Patty Harrison was in this movie.
Oh, yeah, man.
As soon as I see her, I'm obsessed with her.
And she's worthy of way more screen time. I wish to God she had 3 monologues. She's, of all the, I've been doing this 15 years.
Yeah.
She is the number one person more than anybody. And I've worked with some funny people. Charlie Day, Vince Vaughn, Tiffany Haddish, all these people. She's the funniest person I've ever worked with, where she could break me with a look or 2 words, or just like a tilt of the head, like a dog cocking their head to the side.
Yeah.
She's that funny.
I mean, just her saying, I need to take a lap.
Yeah.
Like that. It's like, what?
Yeah. She's brilliant, man. I hope I get to work with her way more. She's so funny.
You also popped up, though, what was it, season
I was on the after party with Sam Richardson also.
Right.
So I have a couple connections to the I Think You Should Leave realm.
Yeah.
By the way, R.I.P. shout out to Biff Whiff.
Yeah, rest in peace.
A.K.A. Santa Claus, A.K.A. Shirt Brother.
Shirt Brother.
But yeah, no, anytime even if I see somebody in a commercial, I immediately know if they were in a sketch.
Yeah.
For I Think You Should Leave, and I get excited. Like, I'd be more starstruck running into somebody from an I Think You Should Leave sketch than I would, Brad Pitt.
So even though you're in one.
Oh, yeah, I'm still a fanboy, man. It's like wrestling. It's like wrestling.
How do you
certain things you fan out on.
But that's so great that you're able to maintain it and also not be ashamed of it. That, like, some people feel like, well, if I reach a certain level of success, I shouldn't be a fan anymore because now I'm that person. Cody
Rhodes
Rhodes and John Cena just did a whole promo about it.
Oh, by the way, brilliant. John, that's the best promo I've seen John Cena do in over 20 years of wrestling career.
Yeah.
He's just never been better than he was the other night, and I'm so glad he turned it up too, because I was
Yes.
worried. He was kind of muted initially, and he kind of really came into his own and really amplified the anticipation for that match.
Yeah.
But no, as far as being a fan, by the way, props to Cody too. One of the greatest promos of all time is Cody Rhodes, whether anybody wants to admit it or not. Mm-hmm. He's not in the shadow of his dad. He's a killer promo just like his dad. But what I wanted to say about being a fan is most of the people that I meet that I end up liking who are at a high level, who are way more famous than me, they are also big fans of stuff. And they dole that out in a real way, not they're not trying to be school of cool.
Yeah, I think when I meet people that aren't some kind of mega fan of something, I'm kind of like, what, like,
why do you do this?
Yeah, what are you doing?
What brought you into this?
Yeah,
Money?
yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
you're attractive? Tight.
Got it.
You're attractive and you can memorize lines. Right on.
Cool story.
Right
story. You got your Chris Farley shirt on today.
Yeah, this company, Roosevelt, I think they spell it RSVLT or something. They take out some of the vowels or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I just hit them up and was like, hey, man, could you send me some shirts and I'll wear them on Instagram and promote you guys? They sent me some nice stuff like a Macho Man shirt and a Happy Gilmore shirt. But this, I didn't even order this. They sent me this as if to say, like wink at me and say, you're doing the movie, congrats. And so I decided to wear it while I do press today.
Because you haven't started filming the movie, correct?
No. We have a screenplay from Neustaedter and Weber, the team behind 500 Days of Summer, Daisy Jones and the Six.
Oh, wow.
Spectacular Now, Disaster Artist. I mean, these guys are sharp.
Yeah.
And they wrote a great screenplay. We're just waiting on Warner Brothers to give it the green light, which Warner Brothers is in an interesting place right now. I don't know if we're getting a green light right away.
Sure.
Things might be on hold. So we are all just bated breath, crossing our fingers, but we know we got a damn good script, and me and Josh Gad are like chomping at the bit.
That must be very difficult, or maybe you're used to it now as an actor, to like in your head to some level, like you realize like playing Chris Farley is a thing, like there's a path to play Chris Farley. Now we've got this movie, all we're waiting for is this green light.
Yeah.
Do you get in your head of how am I going to play this larger than life human being, or do you not think about it until it's time to
deflection?
Yeah,
I totally throw it out of sight, out of mind until I absolutely have to do it. I cross the bridge when I come to it, because if I started practicing now and doing the Hemsworth Hulk Hogan thing, where it's like, I'm gonna get ready for this, brother, I go nuts and I drive my family nuts, and it's not worth it. So I'd rather rest on my laurels and know that 6 to 10 weeks before we shoot, I can dive in and I'll be okay.
And it's nice that you've done enough that you know you can.
Yeah, and you got to get to the point where you trust yourself. I had this conversation with my therapist, this brilliant psychiatrist out of Los Angeles, and he's not cheap, so I don't employ him that often. But when I really need it, I'm like, time for therapy. He said to me, he's like, you got to, you're getting to a place where like you're starting to realize you can trust yourself in your decision making. Like you keep searching for discernment when you already kind of have it, and you have to trust your gut. So I'm now at the point with the career where I'm like, I need to start trusting my gut. And if a project feels like it's never going to happen, don't attach. Yeah. If this producer feels slimy, maybe don't work with them. Or on contrarily, like if you know you can do it, you can do it.
Right.
Don't bug out about it and act like you need to employ like 50 new acting techniques to pull something off. Like you got it. Just trust yourself, go through the steps. And at the end of the day, if you really love something, you're going to do your due diligence. You won't have to overanalyze it. Just like having a kid, like the laziest idiotic man can become a father pretty quick. Mm-hmm. Because if you end up loving that boy or girl, that thing, you're just like, I guess I'm going to be better at all these things to make sure this kid doesn't die or end up screwed up, Like I feel that way with acting almost, where fear is a brilliant motivator. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, I really think that you are at this point where even if there was doubt in the beginning, like people are in the position that they're in for a reason. Like you're here doing as much as you are, and with
that's nice. That's
with what you're doing continuing. I mean,
somewhat true. Yeah,
there's a reason for it.
Yeah. I think also sometimes Emma Stone told me about this. I was asking her advice on Cruella, this Disney movie we did, and this was even before she did that crazy movie with Yorgos Lanthimos. What's it called?
Oh, the
Poor
one.
Things?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, next level performance, like out of this world. But she was telling me, she's like, I did a thing where eventually I was kind of like punishing myself almost with preparation because I don't trust myself and I feel I have to do all these things to be really good. And it's like, I think we get to a point where you do have to trust yourself and let go of that a little bit, but also don't rest on your laurels and be entirely lethargic or passive, because then what if you phone it in and you don't know you're phoning it in, then you watch it and you go, oh, I know that could have been better. Like that'll be the worst feeling.
Totally.
Because you got to live with that thing being out in the world for forever.
Yeah. You have Fantastic Four coming out too.
Yes.
Is it, when you get a Marvel movie, a role in a Marvel movie, do you instantly start thinking cinematic universe? How does my character carry over?
Of course.
Maybe you do.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're honest about it.
Yeah, well, it's that sneaky little ego thing where you're like, I'm being advantageous, and it's like, no, you're being full of yourself. No, at the end of the day, once again, I have to kind of put myself in that place of like, I haven't done sequel movies where I've done more than one of the character.
Right.
I've done television, episodic stuff, but I kind of look at it like you have to earn that by being really good too, because anybody will do a Marvel thing now. Like Denzel might be in Black Panther 3. There have been
100%.
rumors about that. Him and Coogler wanting to do that, and it's like, well, if they can get Denzel, like they don't need you. You got invited to the party, show up, be professional, try to kill it, and if you kill it and it makes sense, they'll hopefully bring you back, and that would be awesome. I would love for a lucrative recurring Marvel job and have some worldwide visibility. That doesn't hurt your career much.
That'd be cool for you?
That would be.
You'd accept.
Third kid on the way? Yeah. I hope they bring your person back too. Yeah. But no, I think they're in a cool like rebuilding phase. I don't think I'm speaking out of school. Like, Downey Jr. is coming back to play a whole new character. Like clearly, we're rebuilding something and we're kind of making marinara out of the burger meat or something. We're making a new meal here from some of the same ingredients, and I think. From what I've seen, and obviously I can't say much about it, but I will say the short time I was on set, dude, they're making a cool movie, man. This is a smart, chic Marvel movie that really focuses on family as part of the theme, and you really kind of fall in love with those characters, I think. And that's what's missing, is sometimes if you don't fall in love with these characters, you keep putting them in peril. We don't really care.
Right.
You gotta make us care first. And Pixar's done a brilliant job of that for such a long time.
Yes.
And I think Marvel's hopefully getting back to some of that maybe.
And are you done shooting the Bruce movie?
Yeah, that's in the can.
That's in the can.
Hopefully I'm guessing it'll be at like TIFF or one of those summer to autumn festivals. But holy crap, was that a cool experience. We shot that in Jersey and in Brooklyn. And once again, smaller character, not a huge character, but, I'm working with Jeremy Allen White, who's a terrific actor and a sweet human being. The moment they yell cut, I walk out and it's Scott Cooper, the brilliant director, and Bruce Springsteen, and it's like you got a cheering section full of brilliant people that are just helping your performance. Bruce would pull me aside and give an idea or tell a personal story from back then, and it ended up helping the performance, I think, too.
That's amazing. When Bruce tells you a story, it's just got to be one of those things where you just, the minute he opens his mouth, I would imagine it's under the learning tree, like.
And that's how that's not how he sees himself, but obviously we all do.
Yeah.
In his midst, in his circumference, but I purposely asked really specific questions. I wasn't fanboying out because I knew that could annoy him, but I was being a little journalistic. I was like, how did your song "In the Wrestler" come about? I love that film and I love that song so
great
much.
Song.
And he's like, Mickey just like, I think Mickey reached out to him and was like, can you do this? And he wrote that song. And I was like, man, you really captured the sadness in what it is to be an aging athlete and one on the outs where you're having to make money off. Oh, I made $400 at an autograph signing at a local gymnasium. You know, that's really, I thought he captured it brilliantly. And then we talked about the creative process of like, what is your music about? Why do I do the roles I do? And he was telling me, he's like, you know, a lot of my music is about faith. It's like a faith journey. He's like, more than you would think. Go back and listen to it. And it's like, I'm constantly on this journey of seeking answers, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Pretty
Well,
crazy.
look, The Luckiest Man in America is in theaters on Thursday, and you guys know I love going to movie theaters.
And let me rattle off some of the names in this movie.
I mean,
just to lure everybody in.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins,
Bro.
Maisie Williams of Game of Thrones fame, Johnny Knoxville, David Strathairn. I mean, who am I forgetting? Patty Harrison from I Think You Should Leave. My buddy Brian Garrity from The Hurt Locker. We just have a crazy cast in this movie, and if you come out, it's not just for me. You will see people at the height of their powers.
Yeah, it's a super fun story. It's one of those movies that you every scene you're like, is that? Oh, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, is that? So that's super fun. And yeah, I mean, I am as happy as I am for you. I am so happy for Walton Goggins and the role that he is also on right now. Unbelievable.
From Fallout to Righteous Gemstones to White Lotus, people that aren't even into our industry are now seeing like, this is one of the guys. This is one of the dudes that matter. You give him any ball, he's going to hit it. And I mean, I thought being in Tarantino movies would have been enough to make that obvious. But,
yeah, right.
But now it's on a big scale. And I got to tell you, I shared a moment with him on set that I'll never forget. And I was kind of telling him about the ups and downs of my story of my marriage and what had happened to me personally. Wow. And we're sharing, we were both having cigarillos because I'm a big cigar guy. Mm-hmm. And I stopped and I got choked up. I didn't mean to, but some combination of like the thought of something personal mixed with being exhaustively tired from starring in a movie. I just started crying, and he stood up and gave me a hug, and he grabbed my arms, and he just said to me, he goes, "You made the right decision. You're choosing your family. Like you have made the right decision. I'm proud of you." And like, it was almost like hearing it from a dad or an uncle. And he gave me a big hug, and it was, I don't know if he'd remember that moment, but I remember it. And that's my Walt Goggins story of just like, yeah, he's a great actor, but like a deeply felt artist and friend to all in his path. I really love that guy.
Amazing. Well, Paul Walter Hauser, thank you. Like I said, Luckiest Man in America in theaters on Thursday. Go out and see it. It's great. And whenever you're in town, man, come by.
Let's do it. We'll talk a little wrestling.
Let's do it. All right. We'll see you guys later.
See you later.